Wow.
I'm so tired. You, I'm so tired.
But it's okay because the Bruh podcast pushes through tiredness. We push through everything, all adversities. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is your hosts, Sam,
Shahan.
and this is the Bruh podcast. As you see here, this is the first time. Let's first.
This is our studio, which we were talking about in the first. So you guys remember that we started talking about we today we have a camera operator too, so we don't have to care about if our recording is going off.
That's true because in every single episode we've done, we've had camera issues, which is ridiculous. Every single one, but it's okay because this time we won't because we got a big time DP behind the camera. So let's go. So yeah, Shahan. I mean, you said you're tired, man. Have you had an adventurous day? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I think I started the day pretty late, but I slept. So I slept late yesterday. So slept late, woke up late, then came to the studio to edit some stuff. Then went with my cine guys to the Red Hollywood studio. So there's a new camera which Red has just right now still working on the prototype. But I think some of they have started exhibiting that camera, which is the Red PVL Raptor. So we just probably we were one of the first guys to look over that. We talked to the guys who actually were part of in the making too. So they just talked about like how everything surfaces around the newer system and like how it's helping filmmakers right now to push their limits.
That's amazing. And I mean, I'm sure as someone who, obviously loves cinematography and loves the technical aspect, that must be exciting to be one of the first person to look over that camera. What was your, I guess, first impressions about it? What did that camera specifically maybe have? What were its highlights?
I mean the sensor size. It's huge. So before, Red used to be mostly making sensors which were focused on Super 35 sensors, which were like smaller images.
And if you could please also, for our illiterate camera illiterate people, myself included, explain it also generally, that would be great too.
Okay, so basically, like if you look if you go towards film, right? Film, we know 35 millimeter, which is the actual size of the film. Then Super 35 is a smaller version of the same film, which to reduce cost in the older days, they used to make smaller film, which was called Super 35. So you can still get more output for your buck. And you can still work on the project. So just like that, right now digital sensors come with full frame sensors, and they come with Super 35 or APS-C sensors. So in cinema, when you're talking about cinema, you talk about full frame and 35 and Super 35. But when you go towards photography side, you talk about large format, you talk about medium format, then you talk about APS-C sensors, which are like crop sensors. So just for all the guys who might not know much about or don't want to know much about the camera, it's just like Super 35 is a smaller sensor. You get less you get less things in the frame, and large format or like full frame sensors are like they have more frame size. So more frame size means better resolution first of all. Then it means better performance in low light. So it's just like that. I can talk about more, but I don't want to put everyone in so much depth. So I had my guy like Irtiza Aditya, all the cine guys. We went there. I had no idea we were going there today, so they just invited me, and I just hopped in the car and we were there.
And that's I think that's a great testament about you in general. You're a very spontaneous guy. You just go with the flow. Yeah, that's good. I like doing that as well, but I also like planning.
Sam loves planning. Sam's just like, he can plan for things which he won't even do. And that's what he does. He wakes up, he goes to the school, he plans shit, and he never do that. And he sleeps. And that's a cycle.
I will not let you slander my name like that.
Okay,
that ain't true.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it's true, like, sometimes. But no. Yeah, no, I like spontaneity is cool. I agree with you. So, bro, we have an interesting topic for today. But even before going into that, shout out to last week. Last week was a great episode.
Oh, yeah.
It was very good to speak with Brian. And I think it's already, like, doing, pretty
Pretty
well
good.
on
Yeah.
YouTube and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting yesterday we went to a party and four of the people there talked that they were listening to the podcast currently. So I was like, wow, some of them are still listening to it. Shout out to Darlene and Desmo, they were listening to
Oh
it.
yeah. Oh, I love those guys. Yeah, Darlene Desmo. Shout out to y'all. Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, we got our loyal listeners. We love our loyal listeners. L for loyal, not for a loss. So with that being said, yeah, let's go on to today's topic. And today's topic is also another fun one. I feel like we're just going with a lot of fun topics.
Mhm.
Today, we are going to be talking as two foreign students
Yeah.
about life in Los Angeles. Life in Los Angeles. Especially for maybe our viewers who are back maybe in your home country, in my home country, who have never been to LA, don't know anything about it. Maybe what are some of the first things you noticed when you moved here to LA that were like strikingly different? Maybe you had your impression of what things might be, but you were like, oh, this is interesting, this is strange, things that maybe were unexpected when you first came here. What were some of those?
I mean, so before I was coming to LA, I was watching a documentary, which is The Night Stalker. Probably not the best documentary to see, but I wanted to know the real image because LA is so much fantasized in the real world that everyone thinks that it's when you just go there, you're just looking over Brad Pitt on the sidewalk, and then there's like Shawn Mendes coming out of the coffee place, but it's not like that because it's a huge place, right? So there's I mean, so there's really contrast to how LA is, and I watching a lot of documentaries before coming here, I was pretty aware of that instances. Like most of the people which I was talking about, like I had a friend who was in LA last week, and he came to travel LA, and he was thinking that it's all fantasy, right? And then he went to the Hollywood, what you call Hollywood Walk of Fame, and he was like, this is so much homelessness and so much dirt all around.
On that, I've heard of so many people who have gone to walk on the Hollywood Stars, and they expect it to be beautifully glamorous when it's really one of the most downtrodden places in all of LA.
Yeah, exactly. Because most of I would say most of the tourists here just go there. The locals don't go there, and because we know the good spots, not good spots in good spots in a sense that they're cleaner. You get a good time. You spend time with friends, and I mean you want to spend time where there's fresh air, right? You don't want to spend time where there's a lot of dirt, there's a lot of smell, so pollution. Yeah, I mean that's one of the things which I mean LA is great for things like the opportunity and the things which we are doing as filmmakers, right? We get to work on sets. Then we have so many because LA has such a diverse geography that on one day you are probably going on the beach, the next day you're going to the mountain, and everything within the 30-mile radius, right? That's crazy. Which yeah, I mean I enjoy that part of LA because for me it's one of the perfect city because I like to go to the beach, and the next day I like to go to a set. The third day I'm going on the mountains with my friends. So you can go around a lot, and you have so many diverse cultures because it's a metropolitan city, right? People from all different cultures are here mostly individually, so there's no families, right? That's what we were discussing one day, that like compared to San Diego, we have so many people in LA are individualistic because there's less families here, more individuals who are here to work. So yeah, I mean that makes it interesting. Yeah, I mean there's bad sides. Sure, there's a lot of homelessness in LA, but then the brighter side is like so many good spots to go around, and obviously work, which is like I don't think so. I'll find a better place to work than LA.
Yeah, I hear you on that, and I think I agree with you on many points. Kind of talking about what we talked about in our first episode about like families and even my little like I can't remember if I mentioned it, but one thing that I noticed, I remember when I went back home to Ottawa, Canada. Shout out to the big O 613.
That's your address.
No.
Zip code.
Yeah, I said my address for the podcast. No, it's the area code. Yeah. In Ottawa, I remember when I went back to Ottawa a few weeks ago, or maybe a couple months ago, maybe a month, week. Time is elusive, about a month ago, exactly. I remember when I went back, and my dad picked me up from the airport. We're driving home, and my eyes are just wide. And the reason is because the number one thing I noticed about home that was so different than LA was two things. It was very green. Mm-hmm. There was just a lot of plantation, and even in the more suburban parts. And then there was people walking outside. Like the thing is I didn't even like realize how many people walk outside in Ottawa, back in my city, until I came here and saw nobody. And it's funny because I've had conversations with people where, you know, maybe it's after an event and I have like a 10, 15, 20-minute walk home. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just walking home. They're like, you're walking home? You're walking home? No. You can't. You're walking like with your legs? I'm like, like it's just 15, 20 minutes. It's all that big. It's like, no. Like I can never let you do that. And obviously, I'm so thankful for people who drive me by all means, especially when it's a longer walk. But like, it's just like, it's not about mocking those people by no means. It's more about pointing out the difference that people in many other parts of the world, like walking 30, 40 minutes is regular for many, many people. And here in LA, it's like, no, like everyone has a car. The busing system is like, it's just not there. Trains and all that, just not really there. And all of that comes back to the individualistic factor that there isn't this as big communal, because even walking is like a communal experience. People will walk with their families, people will walk with their significant others, people will walk in the parks where there's other families, they say hi to other families, kids make friends with other kids, all that stuff. But yeah, when you're in your car, you're just in your car, you're driving, you look and you honk at someone, especially in LA, you know, want to go faster, you're on your phone while you're driving. You LA people might need to stop doing that. But yeah, like it's a completely, there's a different emphasis, and that emphasis on individualism, obviously I think as we've said, has its pros and cons. I want to go also into work, because one thing I've noticed about being in LA is how people build relationships. And in film, for you know, what we're both, you know, interested in, and I'm sure we'll talk more about today. In film, relationships is everything into going into work, but it also makes relationships, even though I've only been here a year, I've already kind of noticed, it makes relationships seem sometimes a bit, I'm like uncertain. It's like, is this person just trying to just being friends because, you know, they want to make sure they can get people for the next project, whatever. And that's not always a bad thing. You know, you want to have people that you can work on your projects. But yeah, I wanted to get your perspective on relationships versus work. And relationships, I'm speaking more just friendships in general. You know, and then how you navigate kind of both, because oftentimes they mix and they mesh in LA.
Right. I mean, so you're highlighting the two part, which is like conditional relationships and there's unconditional relationships, right? I mean, yeah, a lot of relationships in LA which are based and directly towards me are more towards work. But the thing is, you make so many good friends through work, which become your unconditional relationship later on, right? You will have people who might you have just met during work, but eventually you might not even work together with them, but you still have that relationship, and that's because just as you were talking about the system infrastructure, that because LA is huge, it's like 5,000 or 500 square kilometers, which is like a huge city. It's like three times the size of where I come from, and just talking about transportations too, like because I come from Karachi, and not a lot of people walk, but I never walk much there, because it's like a lot of it's so everything is far away. So I mean, it's always like commuting through a vehicle. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I think relationships, there are both sides of that, unconditional relationship, but most of the relationships building here are based on work, and then eventually they transform into either they will just stay conditional, you're just being friends because you want to be in the radar of the person who you're working with, or eventually sometimes like you might just find people who are you feel that you're close to, right? And then you feel that there's no condition needed for you to be with that person.
I agree, and I think that, and I like how you made that dichotomy between like conditional and unconditional relationships, conditional and unconditional, relationships. I don't know why I said that twice, but yeah, because you know the way I've seen it as well. I think there's just so many people that I've met in LA, and especially because they're, from other places and they're also trying to navigate the same thing, that I've actually become relatively close to. And I wouldn't necessarily need to be on a set to be friends with them. We could have good chats. I mean, there's a lot of people like that. And I mean, obviously, in general, even just forget work, forget film, forget LA, in people's lives, it's not like they're close friends with everyone. Obviously, you have people who are acquaintances, and then usually as you get older, you have a pretty small circle of close friends, which I'm happy you're a part of, brother. But, I think that, it's been interesting to kind of navigate it, because I've noticed sometimes where that conditional, unconditional, like where it splits. I've noticed where people have kind of, maybe been not as responsive after a while, simply because it was on that condition of work or whatever, or have been just as responsive as they were before, or even more, because they're like, we had a good connection. Let's stay, let's stay brothers, whatever. But yeah, it definitely is very interesting, and I think it says a lot about LA. And then there's also the fact, as we said, that it's so like people come to LA. When people hear, oh, you're from LA, they're like, oh wow, you've lived here your whole life. Like, what do you think about it? Like, that's an interesting.
That's actually the first question. Most people are born and raised LA. And then then the other guy say no or yes or whatever, and then the conversation, that's like a kind of a conversation starter too. One thing which I know is that people who are in LA are easy to network compared to people who are in probably other cities or other states, and that is because everyone here, as we were talking, are individualists, right? And so they always are looking for people, because humans are made in a way that we need network. That's our nature, right? We can't live alone. Even people who think that they need, obviously we all need space, right? Personal space. But at the end, our personal space has to be broken, and you need that another person breaking that personal space, because that's how we are made. We need each other. We, in all aspect of like relationship, family, or just living, right? So that really makes it easier here to network in LA, because everyone is looking for people to network and just talk to, right? Because they don't have a family who will always be asking them. So, I mean, and that's why you are meeting people on a regular basis, who you might not be meeting people on a regular basis if you have your family here, because that's our need, right? And that's what I think makes it an interesting place, because bonds here, which are made, are strong. I've seen that. I've seen people who have really strong bonds here, and eventually which develops into like lifelong relationships.
And that's important. I think that, again, forget where you're living. It's very important to make sure that as you continue to network with different people, as you continue to meet different people, that you develop those lifelong. Because I think one good thing that comes out of our profession, or our going to be profession, is that you have that ability to just strike up a conversation with a person and just get to know. I've shout out to a good brother I met. This was back when I went to Canada. His name's Sebastian. I don't know if he'll ever see this, but my guy. We met at this track and field event that my sister was competing at. And me and him just connected so easily. We were just sitting beside each other. We just struck up because both of us were very social in that way. And that can be tough for people. Not everyone has that. And I don't think anyone is necessarily born with that. I think you have to kind of train it. And I think that there's a lot of people who, again, forget the idea of film industry, all that stuff. There's a lot of people who, are kind of feeling lost in terms of how to connect with people, how to make those friendships. And what's very interesting is, now that I think about it, there's some really good films that cover that topic specifically in LA. There's a film, Collateral, by Michael Mann, and Michael Mann did a couple great films about LA, Heat as well, but I actually prefer Collateral, which is his less popular of the two. But Collateral is about thematically, it's kind of about people in LA feeling so lonely that they think if they just died in 1 second, no one would care.
So
and
it's film, right?
Yeah, it's a film. It's a film, and you should definitely watch it. If you haven't watched Collateral, you gotta watch Collateral. Collateral is just this outstanding character assessment, starring Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise.
Oh,
and
the new one, right?
No, not new.
Yeah?
No. This was like 2000 and
Really?
wow, 2007 or so.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think it was so good. I think it was like 2007 or 2009 or somewhere in the early 2010s to late to late. Today. We're getting our this is good though because we're being like, you know, we're exactly
we have to wrap it
yeah
soon.
Oh yeah, exactly, all good. Bro, this director of photography is being a jokester, man. Exactly, that's what we need to turn around the camera, show the jokester.
You know what? No, actually, I can actually record it.
Yeah, I guess we're good. Exactly.
And then you guys want to see what? So this is no. This is our teleprompter here. He's dancing.
We'll edit it in.
I'll plug this shot in.
So yeah, Collateral is just an outstanding film. There's another one too. That's just it's escaping my mind, but that deal with loneliness in LA, or not even just LA. I mean big cities. Nightcrawler, of course. Nightcrawler is LA as well. So that's the same thing as well. And then Taxi Driver. Obviously, I don't think it's set in LA. I can't remember where it's set, but it's that same thing of feeling lonely in a big city. Characters who aren't really able to make genuine connections with people, or when they do, there's always problems. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, and it's why they see Taxi Driver, it's why they see Nightcrawler, it's why they see even Joker, it's why they see these films and they're like, wow, like these are masterpieces, which obviously they are, but they also, even more than they're great like works of film, it's like they connect because, you know, people will be living in a big city like LA and pass hundreds upon hundreds of people every day, but still feel like they're invisible. And I think LA can do that to a person. Thankfully, you know, thank God it hasn't really done that to me, but like, it's a real thing. It's a very real thing. Yeah, if you haven't watched Collateral, watch Collateral. One of the best movies I've seen in a long time, maybe ever. So
Yeah. I mean, that's true. Whatever you said, I agree with that. Yeah, but LA is amazing, and LA is wild. If you go out on Saturday night, you're in somewhere in West Hollywood. You're having so much fun. Yeah.
I'll actually ask you as well, but I have a story. This is one thing that happened to me in LA. Quickly, this guy, man. So I was walking. Wow, I don't even know. Probably I was walking maybe to a movie. I can't remember, but I was walking from home to downtown Burbank, and I remember. You know, it was getting late, so it was dark outside, maybe 8 or 9 or so, I don't know. So probably wasn't going to see a movie. I don't know where I was going, but I was going downtown Burbank. It was night, and I'm walking, and there's this lady in front of me, and she's like maybe, I don't know, 30 meters, 40 meters in front of me. I'm using meters. I don't care if you Americans are mad. That's better. But she was in front of me, and I'm like, oh man, okay. She's walking really, really slow. What am I gonna do? Like, I can't, like, if I try and go around her, she might get scared, like, but I can't walk this slow. Like, she's walking so slow. It's tough. But what happened is I decided, you know what, if I make a wide enough curve and go around this woman, maybe she just won't notice. Maybe I'll be able to sneak by her before she notices. I can get in front of her and just keep going, and she's not scared, and everything's good, right? Because again, I think that's just the polite thing to do. You don't want to have those uncomfortable situations at night, especially as a lady. But so I'm going around, and I'm like, okay, I'm almost making it. I'm like kind of tiptoeing, but again, it's like tiptoeing makes it even worse. But again, I'm trying to not go too slow, not go too fast. As I get about beside her, she turns to me, she goes, ah! And she like looks at me, she goes, ah! Like she screams at me. I'm like, what the fuck? Like I literally almost fell onto the road. I was so scared. And then she looks at me, she's like, oh, I'm sorry. And then I'm like, bruh, and I just bolt. Like, I didn't run, but like, I just speed walk away. I was like, what the frick? And it's like some people in LA, because I think, she must have been on something. She was definitely on something. And it's like, some people in this LA town, it's a different atmosphere. And, some of the funny, crazy stuff that you see in movies, sometimes it's actually based in reality.
It's based on reality. Like, we filmmakers might manipulate it in a way, but yeah, it's true. Like, I mean, I was sitting on a garden with someone special. Who was someone special? I was sitting with them on a corner, and literally in the same neighborhood where she lived, and yeah, and just someone just called the cops for no reasons, and eventually they thought, oh, we thought you guys were homeless. I said, no, we just chilling here. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that what happens in LA. It's crazy. But yeah, any ending notes for you?
No, man. I mean, it is us being a dummy off camera, but other than that, man, LA, it's been a ride to really like kind of understand living in LA, understand everything, both the culture and the practical side and transportation and everything. It's been a lot of fun. And it continues to be a lot of fun. There's so many people I can shout out since I've been here living in LA of just how like great it's been to get to know them, and I'm sure I'll get to know so many others and you as well. But if for people who live outside of LA, I'm sure maybe you would already know. The only thing I would really say is if you're coming to like whether it's move here or whether it's just vacation or whatnot, I would say don't like have the expectations necessarily in terms of, the Hollywood side of it. If you don't already, that's perfect. I would honestly just say, see what sites are best to see. Look online, whatever. I haven't explored enough, so I don't have all the answers. But
Sam has never been outside Burbank.
That is not true.
95% true.
No, I've been to a few places in LA, but not enough yet. Very sad. But I will.
Who travels more?
Me. I travel much more than Shahan, actually.
That's true.
So yeah, with that, no, in LA, I would say to anyone coming to LA, say your expectations low, and then go to all the cool places. You have to see the Academy Museum. That would be my one recommendation. The Oscars Museum.
Yeah, I mean, I would just suggest them to look for someone local and ask them where they should travel. Look for their interests, where they want to go, and then obviously try to just go where the locals go, because touristy spots are not the greatest, but I think the local spots are much more better, and you can enjoy more, right? And then even if you have normal expectation, you'll be happy after that.
Yeah, exactly. So with that, thank you again.
You guys can see I'm literally tired. I literally can't think about anything else.
But as we said, Bruh Podcast pushes through. So with that, thank you very much for tuning in once again. Next week's going to be another fun episode, the Bruh Podcast.